welcome back to my channel. If you are new, hi, I'm Cora. Make sure you check out the description box below for links to all of my social accounts as well as my website, corashay.com. And let's jump into the video because I have another blogging tips video. This is my second one. I have a video that I'll link below about how I brainstorm blog post ideas. You guys seem to really like that. So I'm going to be continuing with some blogging videos here and there. And today I want to talk about 9 honest lessons that I've learned while blogging. So I started my blog exactly 2 years ago in May of 2019. And at that time, it was just a fun little creative outlook for me. I was working a very professional job and I just kind of needed a way to feel like I was being creative, and I kind of was inspired by my little sisters always asking me for advice and ideas, and so that's where corashay.com started, and now it is a large part of my full-time income. It's a huge source of income for me now, and I love that. That's amazing. It's been one of the coolest things to ever happen in my life that I've been able to really monetize my blog. I would also like to preface this that you do not have to monetize your blog. If you just want to do it for fun as a creative outlet, do that. If you're interested in that, some of these tips could be extra helpful for you. I just want to talk about things that I wish I would have known when I started my blogging journey in order to be a more successful blogger. First off, and I would say that this is probably the most important thing, is that you cannot just post and not promote. If you want to have blog views, again, if your blog is just your way of talking about things going on in your life, or like a personal journal, something like that, then this isn't going to be helpful for you. But if you're trying to either get views and or monetize, then this is going to be really helpful, because a lot of people think that if you create amazing content, the views will just come, and unfortunately that is not true. It could be literally the most amazing, informative, helpful, wonderful creation and expect the views to just come, because they won't. You have to promote if you want to have views. I do recommend starting with Pinterest. It takes a while for Google to get to know your site and for you to get better at keywords and things like that. You're going to have more luck getting views from social media, specifically from a platform like Pinterest, which is actually technically a search engine, not a social media platform. But regardless, I would definitely recommend getting on Pinterest to start promoting your blogs. Here is the username for my Pinterest, which is just Corashay. Go check that out for some ideas and inspiration. You'll see on there I get anywhere from 9 million to 11 million impressions a month from just Pinterest. Some ideas and inspiration from there. I can do a whole video on Pinterest if that's something anyone is interested in, but that is the way I started promoting my blog. And once my Pinterest kind of took off, right there I would get a couple thousand views a day from Pinterest. That was before I learned anything about Google or promoting on my Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. Number 2, new content is important for growing an audience. If you're trying to create an engaged audience, a committed audience, an audience that you have a relationship with, and that they go back to your site repeatedly and they want to subscribe to your newsletter and they want to follow you on social media, then you need to make new content. I do 3 posts a week and 1 to 2 YouTube videos a week, in addition to posting consistently on all my social accounts. And it seems like a lot, but remember, I do this full time. And if you're not doing this full time, or you're not starting to do this full time, something like that, you don't need to post that often. But I do recommend trying to post at least 1 blog post a week, or if you're a YouTuber, at least 1 video a week, so that when people who are interested in your content return to your site or your YouTube, they see new content. I've had blogs where I love their content, I binge a bunch of it, and then I go back a few weeks later and they don't have anything new. I'm not going to check it again. It seems overwhelming, and I get that, and it seems like a lot of work, and it is a lot of work. And if your goal is to really get views, create an engaged audience, monetize your blog, anything like that, you will need to put in that work to have new, fresh content pretty consistently. And again, obviously some people, they don't need to do that, but I have found that if you really want a connected audience, you need to have new content for them to look at every time they come back to your site. Number 3 was a hard lesson to learn, and that is that you cannot please everyone. I am a people pleaser to my core. I have talked about this on here before. I talked about it on my blog before. I want everyone to like me. That is definitely something I'm guilty of, but you can't please everyone. Not everyone is going to like your blog. Not everyone's going to like your content. Not everyone's going to like your opinions, what you think about a product you review. There's going to be people who disagree. There's going to be people who just think that you're a moron and they hate your blog, and they will probably tell you that. And going along with this is that if you want to be successful in blogging, you have to learn to accept people who don't like you and who make it known that they don't like you. And you know what? That's okay. There are going to be those people who disagree and they don't find it helpful, and that took me a really long time to accept. I would try to almost change my content based off of negative comments, and then I realized that by doing that, I'm catering to the 2% rather than the 98% who do find what I'm doing to be helpful. And that is really, really hard. I understand that. And if you've gotten your first hate comment, or just, I don't want to call it hate comments because they're not always hateful. I think a lot of times people truly think that they're helping by saying, oh, this article is too long, or this article is too short, or it's too many pictures, or not enough pictures, or whatever. I do think a lot of people truly believe that they're helping. But if you try to cater to every single person, then you're going to have another person a week later who's going to say the opposite thing. And it's important to cater to what is helping you and what works the best for you and what you think is going to be most helpful for the most people. Number 4 is one that not very many of us want to hear, but it's a lesson we all need to accept within reason, and that is that it takes time to grow. In my very first month of blogging, I got 1,346 views, which honestly is not bad. There are people who get 100 views their first month. There are people who get 1,000, 10,000. There's ranges, obviously, and again, a lot of it depends on what you already had before. But if you're starting totally from scratch, I don't think that that's an abnormal number. It took me 7 months to go from 1,000 to 10,000. And then from 10,000 to 100,000 took me, let me count this. It took me an additional 10 months from the first month to get to the next big milestone, I would say, and that was 100,000 views. So from the beginning of my blogging to when I got my first 100,000 view month took me 17 months. And I will say I have not had my first million month, which is my next big one, but I've gotten over halfway bigger. And from that point, it only took me 5 months. I would say that that kind of growth is not abnormal, where it becomes more exponential as you grow. So remember that, keep that in mind, remind yourself of that. You know, if you're sitting here and you're going, I'm only getting 500 views a month, it may take a couple more months to get to 5,000, but then 5,000 to 50,000 and then 50,000 to 500,000 is actually going to be generally shorter times. Growth for these types of things are exponential. It takes a pin taking off. It takes you ranking at the top of a Google page. It takes your social media accounts blowing up. Something like that is what it usually takes to have more consistent, higher view months. And again, there are people who get 5 million views a month, and if that is what your goal is, then go watch those videos, absolutely. Like, obviously there are people who are much more successful in their views than I am, but this is kind of where I am currently, and I'm just trying to help people because honestly, when I started, I didn't see very many people creating content where they were getting between 200,000 and a million views a month. I feel like I saw a lot with like, how do I get 100,000 views a month, and a lot of how I get a million views a month. So if you're kind of in that range and that's where your next goal is to get into that 2, 3, 4, 5, 600,000 views category, then this is more of what my videos are going to be based on. Lesson number 5 is one that is important if you are trying to monetize, and that is you do not have to blog about blogging to make money. I know I'm making this video and that may seem counterintuitive, but I make almost no money from when I talk about blogging, my blogging experience and blogging tips and blogging advice and social media advice and things like that. I do them because A, I think they're fun, and B, I want to help with a different standpoint than I think a lot of other people have, and kind of talking about my own experiences and getting my own advice out there for free. That's a big one, is that all of my blogging content is all free. I do not charge ebooks. I do not charge a membership to have access to my information and my experiences and my resources. So therefore, I make almost no money talking about how you can create a successful blog. But that being said, I do not make money blogging about blogging. I make money blogging about self-improvement and lifestyle posts. You do not need to blog about blogging to make money. You can make money, you can make a full-time income blogging about fashion, blogging about beauty, blogging about personal growth, mental well-being. I know there's a lot of in the world of manifesting and crystals and things like that. You can absolutely make money blogging about anything within reason. Okay, I don't want to say anything, but I know obviously parenting blogs can make a ton of money. You do not need to blog about blogging to make money, but the thing is, most bloggers who talk about income reports and how much money they're making and giving tips are generally trying to sell a book or a product about blogging. And I just want to say that you don't have to do that too. If that's where your passion lies, then do that. Go, you rock, awesome. But you don't have to blog about blogging to make money. And I think a lot of people fall into this trap where they have a niche that they're really, really passionate about, and then they feel like they're only seeing resources for how to make money blogging about blogging, so then they feel like they have to add that category and they have to add that to their site to make money, and that's not true. You can absolutely, with the right tactics and the right strategies, make money blogging about not blogging. About, you know, all the main types of niches. And I don't want to say that if you are blogging solely about, I don't know, ants, I don't know, then maybe you are going to be able to, if it's like a super hyper niche that has, you know, nobody's searching for it. But in general, you can blog about any of the main niches and sub niches and more specific niches, and you can almost certainly make money if you're doing the right strategies. You're promoting, you're having new content, you're working on email marketing, you're consistent on social media, you are learning SEO. If you're doing all of those things, you can make money blogging about tons of different things. The sixth lesson that I learned is that you're probably going to have to learn a lot about technology. I am not someone who is overly technologically talented, but I have had to learn a lot of basics on HTML coding, which is something that I would have never thought that I had to learn anything about. I've had to learn in-depth information on Google's algorithms. I've had to learn about photography and how cameras work. I've had to learn about a lot of things. I've had to solve a lot of my own tech-related issues and problems on my site, and I would say it's probably one of the least fun parts of blogging, but if you are not willing and able to figure out how to solve tech-related problems, it can kind of destroy your entire site, and it can really hold you back from growing as a blogger. So just be willing to learn about technology, be willing to take a little time reading some stuff. There are tons of free resources out there, except that you're going to have to learn about technology. Lesson number 7 is that there will be ups and downs, and that is normal. That is super normal. You're going to see times where you're getting a lot of blog traffic, or you're getting a lot of followers, or you're getting a lot of affiliate sales, or whatever it may be, whatever your kind of goals are, and then they either plateau or they go down a bit. That's normal. There are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be waves. A lot of that's going to be really seasonal based. You know, around the holidays tends to be a great time for blogs, especially for making money and views and just everything in general. And then the new year starts and you're going to see a dip. That's normal. It happens. Don't let it defeat you. Number 8. The lesson I really wish I would have learned sooner is that blogging advice can be really generic, and this video is very generic too, and that's kind of not abnormal because I'm trying to give advice to a lot of different people here. People who want to monetize, people who are already monetized, people who are just starting, people blogging in so many different types of niches, people who are really good already at Pinterest or really good at SEO. It's just going to depend. And the reality of it is, if you want hyper-specific information, usually you're going to have a one-on-one conversation with somebody, and whether that be that they're willing to do it, you know, for free, if, you know, potentially need to hire a blogging coach, something like that. Actually, there's a lot of people who offer those services. That being said, a lot of times that is what is necessary to grow, because if you are just simply reading the top few posts on something on Google, they're going to be really generic. If you're Googling a rank higher on Google, for example, you're going to get a lot of really generic information that won't necessarily be overly relevant to you. If you're blogging in a smaller niche, then it's going to be a little bit easier for you to get ranked higher, but is anyone actually searching for what you're blogging about? It's going to be a different ballgame than if you're blogging about fashion, which there's a lot of people that blog about, so there's going to be a higher competition. Do you need to then make your keywords focused on things that are a little bit more niche down so that you can actually get the views? Because chances are you're never going to be able to outrank those massive fashion magazines. So you're going to need to have more specific posts, things like that. You'll need to learn more specifics for your niche, and if you're trying to monetize or not monetize, if it's a hobby, if it's, you know, trying to be a job, if it currently is your job, things like that. Accept the fact that blogging advice is really generic, and what is working or what is being advised by somebody else is quite possibly not going to be perfect or even right at all for you, depending on your own blog and your own interest and your own goals. So don't feel bad if what works for somebody else doesn't work for you. That's happened to me a lot, where I take advice from somebody else and it doesn't work for me because I'm not blogging about the same things as them, or I don't have the same goals or aspirations as they do. And the same thing happens with advice that I give. An example of this is that I do post 25 to 30 fresh pins every single day on Pinterest. And when I tell that to people who are just blogging as a hobby or part-time, they get really overwhelmed, which is super normal. You know, it is a lot of work, but this is something that I do full-time. And so I have the time of the day to do that. And that's a priority to me because Pinterest is such a major source of where I get my views. If you are not doing this full-time or you're not interested in doing it full-time, you can pin a lot less. It's not going to be as necessary for you to commit 2 hours a day to Pinterest. So remember, what works for me might not work for you, might not be feasible for you. There are certain niches that will never do good on Pinterest. People just don't search for that on Pinterest, and that's fine. There are niches who do better than mine on Pinterest, significantly better. Be warned and be cautious that blogging advice is often too generic. And the final lesson I've had to learn is that blogging can be really isolating. You feel really alone when you are the only, you don't have an office. I went from such a hyper-social industry. I worked in hospitality. I was literally constantly talking to people for 9 to 10 hours a day while I was at work. All I did was talk to people. I was either at the front desk or then when I moved to sales, I literally constantly talk to people 10 hours a day. Going to being at home and in my office and working on marketing for clients and then my own blog and everything like that. Other than when I'm working with clients and then it's just Zoom calls or just emails, I don't have that constant interaction and it gets lonely. It gets isolating, especially with the pandemic. I can't go obviously hang out with other bloggers in my city or anything like that, and it definitely gets lonely. Be aware of that, be warned of that, be warned that you're gonna have to make an effort to socialize if you start doing this full time. I definitely recommend Twitter. If you are looking for a blogging community, follow me on Twitter and then check out the people that I follow because they are some of the most friendly, amazing bloggers from all over the world. And you can really find a community there that can make you feel less alone in this journey. Alright guys, I hope that this video was not way too long, but I'm looking and it probably is, so I'm gonna have to do a lot of editing here. But I hope that this was helpful. I know that these are all things that I wish I would have known in May of 2019 when I started my site, and especially around March of 2020 when I started doing this more as a full-time thing. That I wish I would have learned these lessons sooner, and I hope that this gives you some advice and some insight and some information. Remember, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will try to respond as in-depth to everyone as possible. Have a great day. Stay safe out there.